Police investigating the disappearance of Madeleine McCann are starting to carry out new searches of a reservoir. The work's going to take place at the Arade Dam, which is about 50 kilometres from where she went missing originally in Portugal 16 years ago. I'm joined now by talkTV correspondent Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, who's going to fill us in on this. So 16 years on, something is happening now.
Yes, it is. But remember, we've been here before where police investigations, searches have taken place. Now, what we've got at the moment is pretty scant information, no real official confirmations, but I'll go through it bit by bit.
Yeah.
Portuguese police are not commenting because they say this is a German investigation. The German prosecutor says that he will put out a statement tomorrow. But we know from a source within the Portuguese fire service who's spoken to the Reuters news agency that this search is expected to begin tomorrow. It covers an area around a mile wide. It's around 30 miles away from Praia de Luz, which is where Madeleine McCann went missing from all those 16 years ago. Now, the Metropolitan Police also are unwilling to say whether Met officers will be or will not be going to that. They're saying they're waiting for their German counterparts to issue this statement tomorrow. Now, the reason that Germany is leading on this is because of a 45-year-old convicted child abuser and drug dealer called Christian Brueckner.
And we've heard of him before, haven't we?
We've heard of him before because last year he was sent to jail for the rape of a 72-year-old woman in the same area of the Algarve. He used to visit there quite a lot. He used to live out of a caravan. He would drive in and around the area. Police believe he was in this reservoir area at the time. Now, Christian Brueckner is in jail. He has denied any involvement with the Madeleine McCann case, says he's got nothing to do with her disappearance or with her murder, which is what the German police believe has happened here. They believe that Madeleine McCann is no longer alive, according to an update that they gave last year. So that is basically the state of play where we're at the moment. This case, when it came out, everybody will remember it. It dominated the airwaves.
For months, if not years.
To the false accusations against Madeleine's parents.
Yes.
Madeleine's parents, you know, they've only just recently celebrated Madeleine's 20th birthday. It's 16 years since she disappeared. They've said that they will not give up hope, that she's sorely missed and she remains missing. It's just one of those cases, though, where we've been here so many times before. Perhaps, though, the police in this instance have got some concrete evidence which has led them to searching this area again, because it's not the first time that this reservoir has been searched. It was last searched in 2008. In 2014, the Met Police were allowed to search a different area of scrubland near where Madeleine went missing from. But I think it's one of those cases where we're just going to have to wait and see.
I mean, it really is. Well, you know, obviously, you have to be of a certain age really to recall the story breaking and the horror of that story and that little face that haunted us all from hoardings and from front pages for years and continues to. And only the other day we saw pictures of Madeleine's sister, who is now, as you say, you know, grown up and looks, as people would imagine, very similar to how Madeleine would look today. If she's alive, she would look like that. If she's not, it's heartbreaking. People are just, you know, somehow devastated by this story, but nobody wants to let it lie because nobody wants to imagine that it's over. Everybody wants and prays for a happy ending where somehow this little girl's grown into a beautiful woman and is all right and is happy and is flourishing somewhere and comes back. I mean, that's all anyone wants, but with every year that goes by, the dream of that seems to fade. And yet here we have another quite dramatic, quite expensive German investigation. It's kind of unexpected, isn't it?
And that's human nature, isn't it? We all want to see the best outcome in a case like this. Throughout the years, we saw those different e-fit images which were released, sort of tracking how old Madeleine McCann would look at that various time. But as time has gone on, the investigators are now heading into that direction where they believe Madeleine was abducted on that day, on that night of May the 3rd back in 2007, then driven away, and now potentially this area of interest becoming apparent. So, you know, what a story that it's honestly been, and the amount of heartache that there's been for that poor family.
Years of suffering for that family. And I remember people at the time suddenly reappraising almost everything about the way we brought our children up. Because, for example, in those days, maybe people think I'm generalising, but I'm not sure I am. In those days, for example, let's say you were in a hotel on a compound, you know, the hotel complex or a campsite or something like that, and you, the adults, were, let's say, having, you know, dinner at the cafe or a drink in the bar or something. I think quite a lot of people felt very relaxed in that environment.
They felt safe.
Yeah, they felt safe. They felt they were on a kind of special recreational resort environment that kind of in and of itself was safe. So lots of adults, if you'd ask them then, said, well, yes, we put the children to bed and we can, you know, we've got a walkie-talkie, or we go back and check on them, and, you know, we can see them from where we're sitting over there on the beach, or, you know, it's very nearby in the hotel dining room, which is only a few floors down, and we, you know, we leave them, or there's a general hotel babysitter that ambles around checking they're okay, well, that kind of thing. And people didn't sort of think twice about it. Plus, people used to do things like leave the children in the car when they went off to, even when they went to fill a car with petrol, or when they went and nipped into the dry cleaners or whatever, they routinely see children left in cars.
Isn't it? It's sort of...
And suddenly people started to think, God, what have I been doing all this? My goodness, you know, my God, this could have been us. That's what loads of people thought. And people who could, you know, could scrape together for a holiday in this country, people who've been on a package holiday, they just suddenly thought, my God, that could have been my child. It could have been us.
And, you know, I've reported on this case before. I've spoken to prosecutors in the Portuguese area where this has happened, to child protection officers who were part of that area. And they said that around that time, actually, it was a paedophiles hotspot. They had so many reports of things that were going on.
English holiday makers wouldn't have known that, would they?
You wouldn't necessarily have known that, but right across the continent, people would go there. The child protection charities that I've spoken to have listed some absolutely horrendous cases where it had been going on for years and for years and for years. And so it's just one of those things. You never ever wish it would happen to you. You never think it is going to happen to you. And then I think that is exactly why it caught the public's attention, because it's a holiday, a close European destination we've all been to so many times before. It could have literally happened to anybody.
Yes, and so we wait now to see what happens. And you say that there's a statement imminent.
Well, tomorrow is when we're expecting something from the German authorities. Then we're expecting to hear from the Metropolitan Police about what their involvement will be in it. All eyes on tomorrow.